at Thomas More, and yeah, I often collaborate with teachers and students at the University of Applied Sciences, and there I mostly do so in participating in co-creation workshops, facilitating those processes, mostly direct interaction with the teachers and the students, and that's kind of my view that I get on teaching, but I feel I'm a little bit in a luxury position that way, because memes like these, aside from showing and exposing me as a millennial, they show that teachers see their own job as much more than direct interaction, and that it only is a part of their time, which also has a lot of time dedicated to administration, preparing for classes, assessment. So that way, according to the study, almost half of the tasks go to other things than direct interaction with students. So there, you have all of a sudden, it seems, generative AI, a technology that can help you create all types of content, not only text, but also images, video, code. Anything you can think about, it's already there, or the technology is being developed that content can be generated. And it seems like a nice promise in the hustle and bustle of teaching life. I said all of a sudden, the technology is there. Of course, it didn't appear from thin air. It builds on decades of research in artificial intelligence, which roughly is the domain of computational methods that mimic human intelligence, and built on the era of machine learning starting in the 80s, where these algorithms enabled machines to learn from data based on statistical models and neural networks. And with deep learning, those neural networks, which are models that mimic the brain in a simplified way, you could say, they became more complex. And so what those machines were able to do also became more complex. And then with the current wave of generative AI, that really builds on the work on foundational models, where these neural networks were then trained on large amount of data, and were no longer just being able to execute very specific tasks like playing chess, but also processing language and doing all kinds of generative tasks, producing language. So there was generative AI and the current wave, which started, I guess, really lifted off with the launch of ChatGPT. And it may have you and your colleagues very excited. A lot of teachers also jumping on board and sharing their experiments and resources together with other teachers. Books like Chatting with Napoleon that show very concrete examples how generative AI can be used in the classroom. And yeah, many communities also emerging. And maybe just to have a look here, I know you're not all teachers, many of you also support teachers, but let's just have a look here in the room. If you can all get up, just for a moment, if that's easy to do with the setup. And so let's say the people who have professionally experimented with text generators, can be ChatGPT or a different one. If you have not yet experimented with a text generator like ChatGPT, you can sit down professionally, I mean. Okay, so that's kind of supports my thought, what I expected to see. Now let's look for image generation. Those of you who have not professionally experimented with an image generator, please sit down. Yeah. Already a few people sitting down. And now, how about video generation? The people who have not experimented, please have a seat. Yeah? Still quite a lot of people standing up. Often I have auditorium where nobody's standing up anymore. And for audio? Have you also generated, yes? Okay, yeah, a bit of applause for the all-rounders who are still standing up, I'd say. But thank you for trying these technologies out. But at the same time, I can imagine, aside from being excited, the technology may also have you worried sometimes. And I encountered that also in the workshops that we do, that teachers and teacher support staff express worry about whether they are able to keep up with the technology or whether their university is able to keep up policy-wise, because they needed to feel more confident about their own experiments, or worried maybe that the digital divide that is already there among students could be increased through the technology. But regardless of how you look at it, it's not going to go away. We cannot ignore it. So what we need to do is support AI literacy. I think we're all convinced of that. But what do we mean then with AI literacy? I think it roughly can be divided in 3 blocks. Knowing how the technology works, which is not straightforward with artificial intelligence. Then being able to have the skills, that's what we often think about first. Can we help people create the right prompts, support prompt engineering? But you need the knowledge and the skills, both, so that you're also able to take a stance on the use of the technology and become aware of what you feel is appropriate. To be able to take a nuanced perspective and a nuanced stance, we need the experience and the skills. And this 3 building blocks of literacy are also present in the definition of digital competence in the DIGCOMP framework. What I like about that framework as well is that it shows how supporting the use of digital technologies such as generative AI is not just about supporting content creation. Yeah, it's important to help teachers doing so, but there's so much more around that. When we interact with the technology, how do we know this is safe? What happens to the information that we share? When we use it to look up information, which we sometimes do, for instance, with ChatGPT, can we rely on the results? All those little areas are things we would like to support when it comes to AI literacy and generative AI literacy. And that's a bit what we're exploring in the Empowered by AI project. The goal there is to inventorize use cases in different domains, including education, and see how we can support competent use there. And when you look at applications for an educational purpose, there's so many. Throughout the whole workflow of teachers, throughout the learner's journey, there are opportunities to support generative AI, and many resources online, often offered by universities also, provide guidance on how to use these general purpose models and generators like Midjourney, like ChatGPT. But in the project of Empowered by AI, we mainly try to look at applications that were purposely created for education. But just to show you a more general application, this is a magic slide which helps teachers repurpose existing materials, whether you have a video or a PDF or a document or even just a topic you want to discuss. It helps you already make a preparation for your presentation that you can then tweak. And within projects that are going on in my research group on sustainable business and digital innovation, these projects, we really looked at what, on the one hand, are tools that are available for content repurposing, and on the other hand, the Media Genie project that's going on right now, we also try to create an overview of how general generative AI models can serve you. So which functionalities do they offer? Which kind of tasks for content production do they support? But these projects are not focused on education per se, but I still think the resources of which you can find the links here can be useful to you. But so, like I said, in Empowered by AI, we started searching for applications that are geared towards education. Just to show you a few examples, you have Maya that helps you prepare also presentations, but it goes a little bit further than Magic Slide. It tries to add different useful components, the beginning of your presentation to activate foreknowledge, and then offering you possible open questions to ask at the end. Assessment Queue focuses on the assessment, creating actually test exercises, helping you to create multiple choice questions, for instance, by offering distractors or creating fill-in exercises. The Enlighten AI tool, it goes a little bit further in terms of assessment. It kind of learns how you yourself grade assignments, grade them, and how you provide feedback, and then it models the feedback it gives on your approach. So what combines these different applications is that you could say they offer or they position themselves as a time saver, taking tasks out of the hands of the teachers and saving them some time, which, like I said in the beginning of the presentation, yeah, it really caters to an actual, an urgent need. So it is useful. And the applications certainly can benefit teachers if they are offered under the right circumstances. And for this, I won't go too much into detail, but I'd like to refer you to a vision note, DigiSprong, which tries to give an overview of what we mean by reliable AI and what are the actually necessary preconditions to use AI in education, including, for instance, transparency, again, offering insight in how these systems work, but also control and reliability, so that people, teachers and students keep their own autonomy and are still able to make their own choices. So AI can be a time saver, but maybe it can also be more. Within Empowered by AI, we used the summer model, which most of you, I think, are familiar with, as a lens. What I find useful about that model is that it kind of highlights the different ways you can look at technology integration in education. And basically, it kind of invites you to ask different types of questions. Maybe you approach it in a way like, how can we take certain tasks out of the hands of teachers, which the previous examples certainly try to do. But there's also other questions to ask. How might it help me doing a certain task as a teacher or a student? How might it offer me a different way to do a task, bring in some variation in my way of working, which refers to the modification step. And redefinition then becomes looking at the technology and seeing it as an invitation to kind of consider your way of working. And there are applications that move more towards the right side here of the spectrum, the transformative side, such as the one here by Khan Academy, a personalized platform that's been around for a while now, but they also
That's right over
introduced
here is an
Canmigo.
exercise about the
American history on Khan Academy. And we start off in student mode. And notice if the student asks for an explanation, it doesn't just give the answer. It does what a good tutor would do and just try to nudge the student in the right direction. And also notice that everything is monitored. The teacher can see what the student is interacting with as a safety measure.
Now,
Yeah, and so then he goes on to say that from the teacher's side, so the students, they kind of have a companion, a tutor, which kind of doesn't want to disclose much information from the start, guide them in the learning process. For teachers, there's also a facing side where it kind of helps you prepare lesson plans and is more accommodating. It immediately gives you all the information. Another application that's interesting on the transformative side is Olex AI. It's a platform that also helps you create writing assignments and assess writing assignments. But it introduces these interesting features like the image generation to motivate students. So what happens is they enter their task, and the teacher can create, or the students themselves, visualizations that accompany their paper. It also provides a bit of automated feedback that you can customize as a teacher, and then build lesson plans on that feedback. Am I still okay in time? Yeah. This transformative example is more in the spectrum of informal learning. It's an illustration where people can discover a redwood forest in an immersive environment. They get to meet a virtual character, and I'll just show you what it looks like.
Oh, hello there. I don't believe we've met before. My name is Wall, and I'm a northern saw, what owl who grew up here in the redwood forest. Is there anything you'd like to know about the redwood forest?
What's the tallest tree in the forest?
The tallest tree in the forest is a whopping 371 feet tall. That's almost 6 times taller than a T-Rex.
What's your favorite thing to eat in the forest?
Yeah, you'll have to go and visit it yourself to find out. But yeah, it's a nice illustration of how generative AI and XR can meet, and maybe a little bridge to what Gary will be discussing later. You see also applications emerging that make, through the use of generative AI, it easier for teachers to create learning environments. So Summer as a lens, it's interesting, and the difficulty, though, at the same time, is that generative AI is such a versatile technology. And if you want to see like what are the unique capabilities then we can bring with this technology, there are many. But you could say, I guess, in the strict sense, generative AI is about creating content, manipulating content. But for the most transformative examples, those are the ones where generative AI then meets other capabilities of AI, such as analytics, like with the learning analytics platform that you just saw, or conversational systems, like you just saw in the owl example of the redwood forest. And so eventually, all these capabilities start merging, and you get something like GPT for Omni.
It's loading up. All right, make sure I can see our screen.
Actually, in this format,
hello there.
I can't.
I'm here with my son, and I'd love you to tutor him on this math problem, but don't give him the answer. You can ask questions and nudge him in the right direction, but I really want to make sure he understands it himself. And he's here in the room, so you can talk to him directly.
Of course, I'd be happy to help. Let's look at the problem together. Can you first identify which sides of the triangle are the opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse relative to angle alpha?
All right, so
you see now that this capability of seeing what's going on the screen, and the system can co-interpret what's happening and respond also to questions that he had. You see these capabilities merging. So the Summer model is useful as a lens, and it will help you uncover new applications, but still context matters when you use the model. We've learned through our research that it's good to think about first, who are we trying to empower? AI can also be a candidate, thank you, giving them the system itself more autonomy or authority in the process. Which learning environment are we talking about? Are we seeking for examples in formal or non-formal, informal learning? What is the current approach that you are doing right now? Because with summer you really are invited to compare what generative AI would potentially offer with the way you are working right now, and to also see what competences are not or are already present, because the technology in itself is not enough. We need to support teachers and students in using it. So I would end by saying, there's so many applications. I gave you just a few examples. And so if you have a question and you look, you'll probably find something. But I hope to have shared with the presentation just now, and still the idea on you, like depending on what you look for, you will find different kind of solutions. So it's good to see like, what question are we starting from. We are working on a template, and this is like the preliminary version of to help people reflect on different use cases for your own context of generative AI. And I'd be happy to talk with you after the presentation. It's kind of a way of looking like, how would you fill in the boxes? What impact could be made on each of these actors through those applications? So anyway, I invite you to join the discussion also after all the talks on how we might empower teachers and students with GenAI, and where you think are the key competences to support if we want to go ahead with that. So thank you, and yeah, let it grow.
So thank you so much.